I'm very happy to welcome to the show somebody who we spoke to recently. We had a great conversation. His name is Joshua Turner, and Josh is a reformed neo-Nazi skinhead. So he fell in with a bad crowd when he was younger, and he managed to dig his way out of that situation in a very respectable way. And he's a fascinating character. He is now. Today we're going to discuss SaveByReason.org, which is his new project that he's doing here, and I'm actually taking part in it as well. So, Josh, thanks for joining me, man. It's really great to talk to you again.
Great to be here, Kyle. Thanks for having me on the show, man. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. So, tell everybody, for everybody who didn't hear our last conversation, just give everybody the cliff notes as to your personal story, because your story is absolutely fascinating, man, and it's one of those stories that it's so fucking good that it could be a movie, and it could be a good movie.
Well, thanks. So I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie American History X. My life is similar to that. If you just throw in religious extremism, I grew up indoctrinated ever since I was born into a very, very strict religious fundamentalist Christian family that was extremely irrational. I was told when I was 8 years old that my brother and I would have our fingers and our toes cut off and then our limbs chopped off and finally our head in front of our mother by the feds in order for my parents to take the mark of the beast so that we could buy, sell, or trade food, and that this was going to happen just right in the near future. So I grew up with a lot of irrationality, just indoctrinated into my life, and this carried on into my teenage years, where I started to rebel and lash out and started using drugs and fell in with the wrong crowd, as you said, and started hanging out with skinheads and started getting locked up. And when I was 18 years old, I caught a 5-year term for stealing a car. And I ended up doing 5 years in prison with a bunch of skinheads. And just the reason why I became a skinhead is the similarities were very, 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 very similar. Excuse me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they're there. You know what? Sorry, but they're very similar. The psychology between religious fundamentalism and a political religious movement.
And you were telling me last time, I thought this was a really interesting comment, when you said that one of the ways that these guys like seduce people into joining essentially is that they frame it as, no, we don't hate anybody, we're not anti-anybody, we're just pro-white. And then they give you a whole bunch of skewed statistics or narratives to back up the idea that, white people are under attack and this and that. And next thing you know, if you mix in that with people who can actually treat you like, oh, you're one of us and you belong and we like you, it's just a toxic mix where people go, oh, okay, this has to be the answer because these guys accept me and these guys are providing, a cause and a higher purpose, essentially, no matter how, bad that purpose may be to an outside viewer.
Exactly. And there's even a neo-Nazi version of Christianity. It's called Christian identity. And, that gets their hooks into people that grew up religious, you know what I mean, and that don't want to give up God, but they have, racist tendencies or whatever. Well, now they have an excuse to embrace, their religiosity and their racism at the same time.
So talk about what you're working on now, because this is, I think this idea is brilliant, and it's amazing, really, that, people haven't come before you to try to do something similar here. And just so everybody, just real quick, I'll throw out a few things here before you take over. The idea is, Josh knows how he was reformed. So in a way, he kind of empirically knows what worked for him. And to do something with that information is the next step. So the idea is to create a group where we can, try to help people in the same way that you were helped. So tell everybody a little bit about the group here and, what the goal is.
Sure. Yeah, well, right now, if you were an inmate in prison in California or anywhere in the United States, as far as I know, and being locked up myself in California, I know firsthand that if you're not religious and you wanted to reach out and to get some kind of help from the outside, some kind of literature or somebody to come visit you and talk to you and give you moral support, this isn't available to anybody unless you belong to a particular religion. If you're Christian or if you're Muslim or Buddhist, there's plenty of stuff for you. But if you identify as non-religious or atheist, agnostic, free thinker, or whatever, there's nothing there for you. So after I talked to you, I really just got passionate about writing my book, and I looked into it to see, if I can go to start speaking with inmates, and I was told that I would have to be a minister. And so that kind of got the ball rolling in me looking into that direction, and I found out that there is nothing like this out there. If you are a non-believer, there's nothing for you in prison or jail as far as a minister or some kind of outreach. So that's what gave me the idea for Saved by Reason. And that's what we do is we use the Socratic method to teach inmates to increase their moral reasoning and their critical thinking skills. Dr. Peter Boghossian has actually done this. He's written several studies on it. It reduces recidivism, so it actually works. So we're using things that actually work scientifically.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even just theoretically speaking, here's why I think it does work, and it's going to work, is that when you think about, like, reforming yourself into being, a rational person and a thinker and somebody who's engaged in philosophy and sociology and all this other stuff, there's always something to do when you wake up in the morning. I know just from doing my show with all the news articles I have to read and then I have to come on air and talk about it and stuff like that, every day when I wake up, I'm like, okay, I got to go. I got to start reading these things. I got to start learning. I got to start soaking up information. I got to, make sense of it, and then I got to share it. And if you contrast that to, other ideologies, like religious ideologies, for example, in all seriousness, they're very lazy in how they function. Like, if you call yourself a Christian, you call yourself a Muslim, you call yourself part of a religious group, you call yourself part of a really extremist political movement, like, neo-Nazi skinheads or like any other, even super far left-wing groups like communists, for example. It becomes lazy. It's like, okay, you have, for Christians, you have this one book, the Bible, that's all it is, and shut the fuck up and just try to spread your message with that one book. For Muslims, okay, Quran and Hadith, and shut the fuck up, that's it. If you're a secular person, you wake up, there's a trillion things to read, every philosophy book ever written, every sociology book ever written, every news article on every website. It never gets old. There's always things to learn. There's always, new ideas to explore. And it's something that, they say people who have addiction problems or other kinds of issues, they just need something to take the place of that's like socially acceptable and won't harm them. And a lot of people find that kind of solace in going to the gym and being obsessed with that. But I think a big one is if people actually try to care about intellectual pursuits, which is what essentially you're trying to get people into, that's one that does nothing but pay dividends for the rest of your life.
Yes, absolutely agree, yeah. And these principles that we're teaching them, you don't have to be a genius to understand. And so I don't want to scare them away with, big, huge words. And these principles are very, very simple. The Socratic method, all it is just asking yourself questions about a certain ideology or a certain definition about something. And you're just asking yourself questions about that. You know what I mean? It's just a very simple thing to do, and it can be life-changing if you actually apply it. It's like anything else, you have to practice it and apply it. And it can be life-changing. We have it on paper. Like I said, there's studies that shows that it actually reduces recidivism by increasing moral reasoning skills and critical thinking. So we're not teaching from a book that is supposedly, from God. We're teaching from, like you said, all different sources where there's empirical evidence to show that it actually helps.
And you get people to believe in their own capacities, which is a very, very empowering thing. It's nice to go to sleep at night and to think, I was very productive today and I'm proud of what I did. That's a feeling that everybody likes. And when you get people to believe in themselves and to use their own mind as a tool for good and as a tool for their own growth, it really becomes, it's a very, very empowering thing, and it just makes people feel like they're, connected and more in tune with what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. One of our mottos at Saved by Reason is to think for yourself and to question authority, but mostly think for yourself. And like you said, at the end of the day, you can rest well knowing that you went out throughout your day, not believing in something just because somebody told it to you, that you actually go and investigate yourself. And it's a great feeling. And
for sure. So here's a question I have, man. So I know for you personally, one of your biggest things where you were able to grow out of that mindset, you actually found you were very moved by the new atheist books, like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, I don't know if Daniel Dennett, maybe one of them, Hitchens. And that way of thinking really kind of propelled you in the right direction, where you were willing to question everything and you were willing to, use your own mind and not just follow a group, essentially. So is any part of that incorporated into this new project here, or for the new project, are you focusing more broadly on just philosophical thinking, Socratic method, and things like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Like I said before, Dr. Peter Boghossian, who is actually going to be an advisor in August as soon as he's back from Australia. He's totally on board with Saved by Reason. He's actually the intellectual force behind us because of his book, A Manual for Creating Atheists, is exactly what we're using to teach the inmates the Socratic method. But besides him, Sam Harris has been a huge impact on me. His last book, Waking Up, has talked about meditation and basically mindfulness and applying those principles to your life. And I'm trying to come up with a pamphlet to send to the inmates to, incorporate that into their life and jail and stuff. But just for now, we're just focusing on the Socratic method.
Okay, so the idea is now you keep it more broad, but as time goes on, you can incorporate
right.
Okay, that's fantastic,
right.
because there's so many, go ahead.
We're just starting off, just to be clear about that, just so everybody knows, we just got founded in January, incorporated, and the board was just founded, so we're just kind of taking off the ground right now, but we have a lot of people behind us, and so we're just getting all these things incorporated. There's going to be a whole lot more to this.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
In the future.
Just thinking for myself here, I know that I read those books as well. I'm a big fan of all those books and all those authors that you laid out there. But I love, not just that, I love the atheist movement. I'm a fan of the progressive movement. I don't agree with either one completely, but obviously everybody can tell from my show there's bits and pieces of my philosophy that have been weighed in from those people. Even the libertarian movement has, influenced me in some ways, and that's kind of incorporated into my philosophy as well. And for criminals who are getting reformed, I agree with you. It's good to start broad, but then as time goes by, you can incorporate more specifics, whether it's atheist books or progressive books by somebody like Tom Hartman, for example, or libertarian stuff or whatever it is. As long as we're getting people to think, and that's opening new doors for them, that's the idea, right?
Exactly. Yep. As long as we're getting
awesome.
Exactly.
So tell everybody how they can help. I know the website itself is savedbyreason.org. It's savedbyreason.org. And is there a place people can go if they like the idea and they want to get involved, if they want to maybe give a donation or something like that? Can you tell everybody where they can do all that stuff?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, on savedbyreason.org. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but here in about an hour or two, the website is going to be up. So by the time this is on YouTube, the website will be up. There'll be a support button that you can go to. And, we could really use the help towards postage and stationery, printing all the materials that we send to the inmates, travel expenses for the ministers. We need to file for 501c3 status with the IRS, so there's a whole lot of court fees that are involved with that. So, you can just click on support, and if you have a credit or debit card, you can donate. Anything helps. We'll have a PayPal set up soon here in a couple of days, and we really appreciate anything anybody can spare.
Awesome, man. I must say, I'm
a worthy
proud.
Cause.
Yeah, I'm really proud to be on board here. For everybody listening, just to let you know, full disclosure here, I'm on the board of this, so I'll be helping with ideas behind the scenes here. So, I'm really excited to do that. And also, man, Josh, thanks so much, man. Seriously, for people who don't know, the details of your story, I know you gave a little bit here. Check out our other interview. Right. We did another interview with you where you really go into details and specifics about your story. Your story is absolutely fascinating. It's a great story of redemption and, somebody's intellect digging themselves out of a horrible situation. I love the fact that you're trying to share that with the world and give other people the same opportunity to come back that you had. Nothing but good stuff, man. I really love this idea. I'm happy to be a part of it, and thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Like you said, people can check out that interview that we did before, or they can go on our website, and it's connected to our blog where there's a few stories from my upcoming book that I'm working on a proposal for, too, right now, if you want to hear more about my story. Thank you so much for having me, Kyle. A huge fan of the show, and I look forward to talking with you again sometime in the future.